So I just want to talk today about 5 things that I like about learning how to ride in Africa. I never rode a motorcycle unless you count the arcade in America. But I got the bug once I got here in Africa. Now I'm riding. One of the things I really like about riding here in Africa is that it's low speed. America is a very car-centric place. And so everyone kind of has a car. There's so many cars on the road. The road system in America is very fast. Even side roads are very fast. You have the expressway, which is very fast. You could kind of feel like you have to start going really fast before you're really ready. Whereas here in Africa, a lot of stuff is very low speed. You know, you could see on the screen now, if I put the speed up, that I'm not going very fast. It's really nice to not have to feel the pressure. Just traffic here where I live is just typically very slow in general. I mean, even cars are very slow. This is just something that I really like, the fact that I don't have to feel the pressure to be going blazing fast. I can take my time. Traffic here typically moves slower. Part of it is because of the state of the roads, as you can see. Part of it is just the culture here is just not that car-centric, so there isn't really the infrastructure. So people just tend to go a little bit slower. I mean, I don't know all the reasons for that. That's just one of the things that I see here. So it's really great for beginners in that sense. Another thing that I really like about riding here in Africa, or learning to ride here in Africa, is it's a very heavy bike culture, but not a fancy bike culture. You don't really have a lot of options as far as what kind of bike you get. I mean, you can, but you might suffer for lack of availability of parts or people who can fix your bike. But the typical bikes you find here are going to be your more budget bikes. There isn't really this big push for you have to have the best bike, or sport bikes, ADV bikes, baggers, Harleys, and all that kind of stuff. You really won't see it here. So there's no pressure like, oh, I'm just puttering around on my little introductory beginner bike and I don't have a real bike yet. You don't have that problem here because everybody's kind of rolling around, or the vast majority of people are rolling around on a budget bike. You do have some people who do import in some nicer, fancier bikes. However, for the, 90% of people here, it's just not a thing. I mean, just the fact that you have a bike is sort of a major blessing. It's sort of how we would see having a car here. I mean, if you live in a place that doesn't have a car and you do have a car, it's just seen as a really amazing blessing, even if it's not the fanciest thing. So for them, just for the fact that they have a bike to get somewhere instead of having to take public transport, I'm not going to say it's a sign of upward mobility, but you're doing all right, at least a bit, if you have a motorcycle. It's definitely something that makes a difference in people's lives. To have any old kind of bike is great. A lot of the main bikes that are sold here are going to be your Chinese and some Indian bikes. That's going to be a lot more popular here because China and India has understood the market here. They understand the needs of the varied terrain. They understand the budget consciousness here, and they provide bikes, and that's what people buy here. So I was really happy when I first started out. I didn't feel weird thinking that, I don't have a cool enough bike, or, I'm going to have to upgrade, after a while, I'm going to outgrow the bike. I mean, hey, a bike here is a bike here, and you don't even have really fast roads here anyway. There's no really point in getting a sport bike in a lot of these places because most places you go in the town are not going to, be able to support those kind of speeds, at least for long distances. A really interesting thing about riding here that I notice is that the people here understand that this is I guess you could say a motorcycle culture, right? In America, motorcycles are a lot more rare, whereas over here, motorcycles greatly outnumber cars. So it means that if you're a car on the road, you are vastly outnumbered by motorcycles around you, and so you learn to be very careful about where motorcycles are. You're looking everywhere because people here can be very aggressive in how they ride, and so if you're in a car and you're surrounded by a lot of motorcycles, you have to be very motorcycle aware. So one of the things I really like about here is that drivers are very motorcycle aware. It doesn't mean that accidents don't happen between motorcyclists and car drivers, but it just says to me that I just feel more confident when I'm riding here because I'm not going to assume that I'm seen, whether I'm in the US or Africa, but it's just nice to know to kind of have as an added bonus that, hey, there's that little extra. There's that little extra that people can see you, or people are more used to seeing motorcycles. That's just an added bonus about learning how to ride here. It doesn't mean that I'm not aware, because there are other things here that make me have to be very hyper aware. As far as cars just turning and not realizing there's a motorcycle there, I would say that would happen less here than it would abroad, where motorcycles are not as ubiquitous. Another thing that I really like about riding here is the varied terrain. It's pretty beautiful here. You get to learn on varied terrain. You pretty much, if you learn how to ride in Africa, you are definitely going to have to learn how to do off-road riding. You're going to have to learn how to do city riding. You're going to have to learn how to deal with traffic. You're going to have to learn how to do slow speed riding with pedestrians all around. Maybe deal with different types of terrain. It may be sand, it may be mud, gravel. If you take the highways in between towns, you're going to have to know how to do some higher speed riding. I really like the fact that being in Africa, it forces me to learn different styles of riding and how to deal with different situations. I even have to avoid goats and chickens, and there's a lot more people outside, so you have to deal with a lot more of avoiding people. I really like being able to have such a varied riding environment and be forced. Because if I was in America learning, there aren't roads like this that are so easily accessible, and even the standard bike that you would get is not going to be typically equipped to go off-road. I mean, you can take a lot of different bikes off-road, but the standard bike that is sold here generally has mixed terrain involved. When they sell these bikes here in Africa, they have in mind that people are going to be using them on varied roads like this, and even much, much worse. So these are commuter style bikes. They don't have a lot of the power that your bikes in America or Europe may have, but they are, see you right, oh, here we go. The varied terrain, the wide open spaces, I mean, it's just beautiful. I mean, it's just really beautiful to ride where I am. I'm quite pleased with the scenery that I have here. It's quite beautiful. To get this in America, especially where I lived, I didn't really live in a lot of rural areas. For me, this is great. I mean, being able to have a dual purpose bike, it's not a dual sport, but it's just a budget, these are budget bikes, relatively budget bikes made for a very varied riding environment. They just come stock like this, right? They're just automatically built for mixed road use. Unlike American bikes where, they're more geared for performance, you're going to be on the highway. I probably wouldn't, this is a 150cc bike that I'm riding. Of course, I wouldn't ride this bike probably on most highways. You could get away with your typical side roads. Here, this bike is amazing. It's not too heavy. I can ride it on the highways speeds here. It's more than enough for the highway speeds here. And I can ride it on roads like this, and even worse. And for here, it's a powerful bike. Most people ride 100 or 125cc bikes. So this is sort of powerful for here, even though in America it'd be, kind of weak sauce outside of maybe some dirt bike riding. Another thing I really, really like about learning how to ride a bike here in Africa is that if you break something on your bike, it could be you drop the bike, break a light. A lot of the parts here are cheap. I mean, they're also cheaply made, but they are very cheap to replace. I mean, we're talking about a few dollars to replace several different things on a bike. Now, the bike that I'm riding now will probably be a little bit more expensive, but still, nothing like what you'd have to pay in America. So that fear of you dropping your bike, oh my gosh, now I'm either gonna have a busted bike and I don't have all that money for that. Well, here, if you do drop your bike, it's just so much cheaper to repair. In fact, if you just have problems in general with your bike, it's a lot cheaper to repair. So this has been really great, because I don't know, if I was like in the US trying to learn to ride a bike and trying to figure things out, oops, hit that, oops, hit that. But at least here, it doesn't hurt the pocket as much. Typically with the power of the dollar and all that, things are pretty cheap to replace here. Things are pretty cheap to replace here if you're coming from the West. That's just, for me, a personal benefit as an American, why I find it I like learning to ride here. If I hit a mirror or something like that as I'm learning, of course I don't want to do that. I'm trying to avoid that. But at least it's not going to be, break the bank for me personally to repair it. But it's not all sunshine and rainbows learning how to ride a bike in Africa. So you can check out my next video, which talks about 5 things to hate about learning how to ride a motorcycle in Africa as an American expat. See you there. And remember to like and subscribe and come to my channel so you can see more content as you follow me learn in Africa.